live. We are live. And there's
Oh,
my
look
very
out.
good.
Lights go down.
He
Show's
just
about
turned
to
the lights
start.
up.
There you go. I think that's enough. I think that's enough light.
Okay, you're there. Yeah. All right. It's my friend Russell Price. Hey, Russell. Hey, Russell's in Bali. On the road to Soria Organic, the path to Soria Organic. Is the restaurant open?
Sorry Organics is not. Hi, everyone in David's audience, by the way. Very, very nice to meet you, and welcome and greetings from Bali. It's early morning at the moment, hence my early morning voice. And yeah, I'm on the path. I'm on the path to Sari Organic, to Dragonfly Village, if you know Ubud at all. And I have this beautiful, beautiful view of the Champawan Ridge. And so there's a valley just in front of me, and then a river down below. All of this oxygen just kind of rises up from the valley and just fills the house in the morning. It's just extraordinary to come out and get a beautiful breath of that.
I know exactly where you are.
Right.
Exactly where you are. It's beautiful. I miss my Bali, and it's been 2 years now for me. So it's the pull is strong.
Yeah. I'm very lucky to get here. I was locked down in Melbourne in Australia for 9 months, which was intense over winter in Melbourne. In the city, I came down there for a couple of weeks intending to see a wedding and then come back to Bali for the Bali Spirit Festival. And that was in March, and I didn't leave until December because obviously the whole world changed. And now, I found a way through with the visas and kind of snuck in through the window. And it's just so wonderful. Like we're in a little bit of a lockdown here, but in general, you can still go to cafes and see people. And I got very depressed in kind of isolation in Melbourne. It was challenging. I'm not used to being depressed. I'm not a depressive kind of person, and I've got a lot of skills and resources as well, and a lot of friends. But
friends in Melbourne, or friends all over the globe. But,
yes,
but friends in Melbourne as well.
Absolutely, Melbourne's my spirit animal. Melbourne's kind of where I was home base for many years before I came to Bali and started globetrotting. So Melbourne's where my OG are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I remember when you came to Bali. I've been going there, for the last 12 years, really almost every year, except for the last couple. And I remember your early days when you came around, and you've done well there. You bought some property and built a couple of villas and
a couple of beautiful villas overlooking the rice paddies in Latundu. So one of those I've sold, and I've still got 2 left. And Bali's essentially home for me. I spent the last, what is it now? 13, 12 years traveling. I'm supposed to be in Kazakhstan looking for gold at the moment. I spent the last 12 years kind of, in various countries in West Africa and various countries in the Middle East, and then in Australia, but always kind of revolved around Bali as a place to call home.
Yes.
So,
but you're I know that you're professionally, you're an engineer, right?
I'm a geologist, an exploration geologist.
Okay.
Well, professionally, it's a good thing. It's like, what do I get paid for? In terms of my career, yes, I'm an exploration geologist. I usually look for gold or iron ore or copper in various far-flung places in the world. But my background is also in hypnotherapy and NLP and kinesiology, and got a master's degree in woo-woo as well. And I've recently been ghostwriting for a couple of people who and so I've kind of had like many of us a multifaceted career, certainly not a straight trajectory by any sense of the imagination.
So for many of us, I think, who've gone into consciousness work, I like to call it that more than personal development. I think that, going into explorations, self-realization work, have gone there because of maybe our own personal need. It wasn't that we woke up one day and thought, wow, I think I'm going to study hypnotherapy. Uh, there was something missing, right? There was something, a little empty spot, and we're thinking, how do I fill this? And I don't know about you, but I tried to fill it with drugs, alcohol, sex, food, travel. The list goes on and on, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and none of those would be any more than a momentary fill, and some of them are quite dangerous. And, and, so
Yeah.
you
I
must
think
have
I'm
had that.
lucky. I think I'm lucky in that I've had always had a very high value on health. So I kind of missed out on the drugs and alcohol, but I'll definitely take sex and travel, as well as, this relentless obsession with, I don't know, perhaps my own suffering, or other people's suffering, human suffering in general, and how to resolve that. I think, uh, what makes people tick, what makes us work, and what makes us whole. I've been on a relentless journey for years, trying things, road testing them out. I guess, ultimately all in the pursuit of scratching my own itch and trying to find that peace on the inner side, and some way to kind of navigate this crazy, unpredictable, chaotic, beautiful, glorious mess that we call life. And I'm sure, like you, I think you've followed my journey a little bit, and I certainly reached out to you at one of my really darkest hours. I think it was my first bankruptcy, if not my second. Just trying to make sense of it all and find a way to navigate, without losing your center. And maybe that isn't even possible as well. I think perhaps that's one thing I'm learning is just to be very humbled, humbled when life is going well, and hopeful when life is not. And
the key piece in there, without losing my center. It my experience over some 40 years of being on that search is that it came finally down to, I had to surrender my center. I had to surrender. I had to say, okay, I'm in. I give up. I surrender. And then kind of turn it over to whatever whatever we see as that power, the moment. Eckhart Tolle speaks about the moment. Is it the moment? Is it consciousness? Is it universal intelligence? Is it God? Whatever it is that we see is because
yes, yeah. I definitely hear you. It's so funny. It's like, I understand that intellectually, but part of me is just like terrified of that concept as well. I noticed that there's two parts of me. There's one part of it is like, yes, I understand that, and I more and more live in that. And that's 100% what I do with my clients as well, in terms of the space that I hold in when I do my hypnotherapy sessions. And I noticed, there's part of me that is still looking for some sense of control, some sense of what is that thing I can cling to or hold on to that will remain constant, or that I can count on through this journey. And so, yeah.
It took me years. It really did, of struggle, and finally also business failure and all of those things to finally say, okay, and I traveled with a teacher many years ago. As a matter of fact, my first trip to Bali was in '94. We were just on the other side of the ridge from you, in a beautiful, there was about 40 of us in this beautiful retreat center that I don't know if it's even still there. And his thing was, always be here now, be here now, be here now. And And how he presented it, he said the only way that we can possibly live in our full potential, the only way, that we can live in our full potential is to be here now, and tap into that universal intelligence, to trust that it has, it's for us, it has our best interest. It is, other than that, we're trying to manage. And my managing always had fear in it. It always had a little piece of fear, a little piece of what if, and there was always doubt, and to be living now in this place of not knowing, of really not knowing, and just surrendering each moment, and making plans and having them, continually shift, and being okay with that, and making,
Right.
in some ways, less commitments too, because I had planned today to drive to the coast, literally today. That was the thing that I wasn't certain whether we were going to do this, because I thought I was be driving to the west, to Vancouver today. And about 3 things came up that needed to be done today. And I thought, well, I guess I'm not going to Vancouver. So I just let it go, and and here we are. And
Yes. Yes.
so I get how hard it is. I do. I get how hard it is to just say, okay.
And I think that's what one of the things I'm really interested in, Dave, is how we take these pithy sayings now, like "be here now," which has an enormous amount of wisdom, and is that phrase is just steeped in so many traditions, and at the very same time, I think, with the dichotomy of our current world, it can be splashed on so many Instagram memes and almost lose its value. We can all say, just be here now, be in the present moment, and the people we're speaking to will nod their heads and go, yes, that's
all the time. I did that. I did.
Great idea. Yes. It's all energy. Just be here now. And then you go back to your wife or your kids or your business or your shitty house, which you haven't paid the rent for, and go, well, that's, Ram Dass is not helping me pay the rent at the moment, if you like. And so I think so to your point, one thing is I'm very interested in how we take these wisdoms and apply them practically to the very real problems of our lives. I think it is, when I am in the space of like, I'm present and I can be here now, it's one, life makes sense kind of thing. Or perhaps I'm not trying to make sense of life, might be also more accurate. I, from my observation, a baseline level of safety and security is required before you can start even being available to some of these things. I'm just going to propose that, like, some sense of like
Maslow said, of course, the hierarchy of needs, and at the top, I think it was self-actualization, or you've studied Maslow, I'm sure, and yes, but I think for the most part we have that, in our society. You and I have that. With the very little effort, we can manage the necessities.
Right, yeah. And then I think it comes to, and then I think it comes down to gratitude for what you have, as opposed to, people might say they have different levels of necessities. I've certainly gone through phases in my life where it's like, by comparison, I have a lot of money compared to other people, but on the inside, I've still got a scarcity mentality, and so I'm in survival mode. It's like, oh my God, I haven't, my numerous villas in Bali and blah, 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 and yet I don't have enough. And so I am, what am I trying to say? This false sense of being in survival prevents me from being in a place of operating from the present moment. Can I be here now?
I'm very familiar with this. Like, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, the freedom that came for me was when I had to let it all go. And literally let it all go and experience some a bit of difficulty, some difficult times, and then grow more into it. And then I did. Can I share with you that I went and did a thing called the Enlightenment Intensive, which is for me was a 4-day. You do the Zen koan. Tell me who you are. Tell me who you are. We did that question, and what happens is the satori. It's not guaranteed, but it happened for me. It was like, oh my God, I recognize that everything I thought I knew about me was not true.
Yeah, that's always a disturbing moment, isn't it?
Everything. It was beautiful because what happened was this clarity came. It was like, oh, you're kidding. Oh my God. No pun intended. It was like, it was so beautiful. I had been there before, but I didn't recognize it. I always associated it for me with my old drug days. I thought, I've been there with teachers before. I've had these moments, these amazing awakenings, and I didn't really understand until I did the Enlightenment Intensive just a year and a half ago after I lost my business and after it was gone. And I went and did this earth-shaking experience, which I had swore, literally, I did a little bit of it in 94 in Bali, and I hated it. It's a hard, it's difficult. Have you ever done it?
No. I'm usually allergic to anything with the word enlightenment in it, David. I'm willing to hear about this one.
It's been around forever. It really is. Some people call it the Satori experience, and it's not for the faint of heart, I can tell you. But it is for those of us who are kind of on the edge and we're thinking, what's missing? Why can I not let go of my need for security? Why can I not, and because all the promise is if we're living in that state, we'll intuitively know, we'll and that's what's happened. I'm living way closer to this, awareness, and I've had to come out though in share it. It isn't, and that's what I've been doing daily, like I was telling you a few minutes ago. So it's not for the faint of heart, but it is, wow, and yeah, I won't go on. Yes.
I'd love to hear more about how that informs how you practically operate through the day, David. And I'm gonna
we'll do that another time. We'll do that, because this really is me asking you how you're doing in Bali and what your plans are, and because I love the little note you sent me the other day. Like, you are an amazing writer. You really are. I people post, pages on Facebook, and I don't read them, but I always read your stuff. I think, wow.
Oh, thank you.
You have, you're a beautiful wordsmith, and pull it all together. And so you sent me that little note the other day that you're really planning on going into the field of helping people to become more aware, I think, to become more conscious. More
It is a process of awakening. There's so many, it's one of those things which defies words, but I'm very happy to speak to it. And what my experience is, both in myself and in the people that I'm working with as I'm doing this work. And I'll speak to some of the concepts we've been discussing, around like being here now and letting go and living without a center. And also for me, how these experiences very practically translate to leading better lives, which looks like making better business decisions, which looks like having happier relationships, which looks like losing weight or being able to sleep better and having less anxiety. Because I guess that's my kind of particular bent, is one foot very much in the spiritual. Like I love the idea of the enlightened experience, and we've all been there. And then one foot in the practical of like, how do I just systemize paying my taxes and get household chores automated so that I can do better things with my time. So it has to give results in the real world as well. So this is what I'm noticing. David. is having, in COVID, you know, we all went through a bit of a shake-up, and I got kind of shaken out of my corporate tree. I actually quit my job just before COVID, and then decided I would take a break, and kind of followed that feeling. I was lucky in that I had some cash, a bit of a runway, and at the same time, that survival mechanism of you need to work, you need to make money, you need to stack away X many millions of dollars so that you can provide for yourself in retirement. That little thing was still ticking. And so I had to just trust in the sense that something else was going to emerge. And from that place, I was like, well, what am I going to do? I need to do something. Ideally, that something will bring in some cash. And what would I like to do? And I have been deliberating for years around going back into the helping people business. You know, back in the day, I ran a college of natural therapies and energetic medicine for a couple of years. Most people don't know this, but for 8 years, I ran a clinic. I saw clients. I ran retreats and workshops, and I was a coach before the word coach existed. And so, but I kind of gave it all up. And one of the reasons I gave it up was because I felt started to develop a false sense of identity as a teacher. And it's very easy to be spiritual when you live in the monastery, right? I was like saying all these things. People were loving what they heard. I was working miracles. But at a certain point, I'm like, this is not me. And I wasn't feeling it anymore. And so that's a whole other story. But I left that to test everything that I knew and to test who I was in the absence of being surrounded by people who thought I was awesome. Check my ego in at the door. So it's been a long, long, long journey to come back to, okay, am I ready to teach again? Am I ready to share? And what have I integrated over the last decade and a half? From what I was teaching back, you know, when I was in my 20s. And there's a wonderful thing about your 20s and 30s is that you do know it all. And you can kind of speak from that place of like, I just know it all. I sometimes wish that I had that again, because I'm so full of like these you know, life has not turned out the way that I thought it would. And so there's like, you know, there's a different kind of perspective and awareness to what you're sharing. Whereas I think in your 20s, you haven't had any big knocks. You haven't built something and seen it fall to dust before your eyes and gone, oh shit, I have to revise everything that I knew. So to bring that story to the present day, I started doing hypnotherapy again. I started just doing sessions and thought, all right, let's just see what emerges as I spend time with people in this field. And I'm starting to get words for what I do, and the work is starting to emerge from me. And with hypnosis, I don't turn people into a chicken. The style of hypnosis I do is one where we simply loosen the grip that the conscious mind has on us, and we go to that place that Rumi speaks about. Out beyond notions of right doing and wrong doing, there is a field, and I will meet you there. And that's what Rumi says. And so there's two things about that. There's the field beyond right and wrong, and he's meeting you there. So you're not alone. You're not trying to do this by yourself. We're in there together, holding that field.
That's what we just talked about.
Yeah, probably.
The right and wrong is the duality of life, and the field is the now.
The field is the now, 100%. And so we go into that now. And again, I'm going to reiterate the important thing, which took me a few years and some hard knocks to learn, is that we're doing this together. As human beings, we need other people, and we can call it co-regulation as well. I'm there with my nervous system opening up something with you. And because I used to think for many years the spiritual ideal was you do it all by yourself. You know, you're this self-resourcing, godlike being who doesn't need anyone and has no issues, and you just, you just radiate fucking beams of unicorn light. And it's not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so when this particularly dreadful relationship just had me gasping on the floor, and I went to my teacher. I don't know if you know Laura. She's one of my mentors. She was very clear as she saw me and my internal process trying to work it out. She said, stay in connection with me, because together we're going to let this unravel. So I was very humbled by this fact that I couldn't do it by myself. And now I really appreciate how much we need other people, especially skilled beings around us. So in the session, I hold the field beyond right doings and wrongdoings.
Yes.
And then we explore what is arising. And what arises is a consequence of whatever your desire is in this world at the moment. We're human beings, we have desires. Some people want a soulmate. Some people want to build their business. Some people want to make more money. Some people want to lose weight. Some people just want to be less stressed. These things, this is like the impulse. This is like God knocking on the door in the language that we will pay attention to and actually do something about that itch that we want to scratch. And so from there, we notice what's going on in the nervous system. What do you see? What do you feel? What do you hear? What's the experience like? And we start building a relationship with that. Often these are parts that we don't want to see. We spent our whole life avoiding or numbing ourselves to. But in this field, we can actually have a look at them and then build a relationship with them. And the most profound thing starts to happen, David, is that once these parts are witnessed, something extraordinary starts to happen, whereby the edges start to loosen and they start to become integrated into the person as a whole. We're not letting go of anything. We're not dissolving blocks. Something starts to grow up inside us, and it happens very effortlessly. And what I'm witnessing is this place where a person's intrinsic goodness, our intrinsic goodness as people, has a place to start flourishing. And with it, it brings with it these parts that we don't like or we're avoidant of. And a new person starts to emerge. And that looks like, in the real world, just feeling happier, feeling more at ease and flow, having better relationships, less arguments with people, better sleep, better experience in business, better ability to navigate uncertainty.
Okay.
And it doesn't happen in one go. It takes a bit, because we're retraining the nervous system to operate at a different level. But it's a beautifully profound, extremely simple, very moving kind of experience for myself and for my clients.
Well, that's awesome. Can you do that online?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's how I work, online. It works beautifully online.
So they can be anywhere on the planet?
Anywhere in the planet, yeah. And all you need is a Zoom or a computer and some headphones and somewhere where you are, not disturbed, where you can kind of connect on the inside.
Yes.
And yeah, beautiful things are happening. And what I see is it's almost a bit like the psychedelic experience. I don't know what your experience is with psychedelics, Dave. I'm sure a couple have found their way in. One of my understandings of psychedelics, because there's doing some amazing research now around repairing depression and trauma, is that the psychedelics downregulate the vigilance center, if you like, the survival and safety center. And in doing so, they provide a space where you feel very held, you feel very safe. And other parts of your awareness can come to the forefront and be seen. And that's also, I think, a similar mechanism with what I'm doing in terms of the the nervous system gets down-regulated. There's a deep sense of safety, and then very moving visions and parts of ourselves start to show up and become a presence in our field, but like a very loving, supportive, deeply moving presence, which kind of stays with people going forward. And my art is to help those parts which arise find their place within your heart.
Wow. I like it.
Yeah.
I think it sounds awesome. It sounds a little more subtle. I mean, most of my transformations have been maybe a little rough, you know. You know, I mean, I've been brought up on the no pain, no gain adage, and so this seems just a little more gentle way to move, and they both work, you know. I mean, and also, I mean, I've spent a lifetime of reading and studying, so to be able to identify or have a language for the shift, you know, is it helps, and that's great. Have you read Hawkins, Dr. David?
David Hawkins, there's many things that I'm allergic to. I do know Power versus Force. Yes, I'm just going to leave it there at the moment and say I have read it a long time ago. I believe he uses muscle testing to determine where you are on a scale of consciousness.
I love his scale. His scale is very informative. It helps us to see and put a little bit of language to you know, his work. So I mean, there's so many paths. I think as the further up the mountain we get, the more we realize there are many paths.
Well, I think ultimately there's only your path. We're guiding ourselves through our own wilderness. From my senses.
Well, yes, of course, there's only mine, and mine has been many paths, you know, and I think that I mean, there seems to be only one top to the mountain, but there are many paths to that top, and I really believe my experience is that the top is really this ultimate surrender, this that we're talking about, and everything you're saying is really just another way to there, to let go of our old beliefs or old, and if you have a way to help people to do that without them having to you know have a guru, you know, or have a full-time, you know, like I spent a lot of time this year with Muji, and
beautiful. We love Muji. I went and saw him in Rishikesh a couple of years ago. It was profound.
I've been doing an hour to 3 hours a day this whole since February, since he was in Rishikesh last February. And I watched the whole Rishikesh experience live on video. And then I'm like, I just love the guy, you know, because he's so high vibrational, you know, and so he's often playing in the background in wherever I am. I just kind of have him playing, and
that's so good.
Yeah, and so that's a path, you know, because we're lifted up, you know, and stuff gets melted away, and more, you know, there seems to be this unending onion to be peeled, you know, and
yes. Yeah, 100%. And I think I went through a phase. Maybe you can relate to this, David. I went through a phase of being very, very, you know, doing every single workshop everywhere I possibly could. And like I read books read self-help books on the toilet, and there's always this, you know, and all my friends have the same, you know, different spiritual texts, but I'm always like looking. And then at a certain point, I got to a place, this is about when I left teaching, where I felt like my cup was too full. I was that famous professor in the Zen story. I'm sure you know it, where the professor goes, "Tell me about Zen." And the Zen teacher starts pouring him a cup of tea and just keeps pouring, and the tea flows everywhere. And the professor goes, "What are you doing?" And the Zen teacher says, "I can't, your cup is too full. I can't teach you." And so I set about trying to empty my cup, because I realized that it's just too full, and wasn't open. And now I'm kind of at this stage where I don't particularly care I'm not so attached to whether someone knows more than me or someone knows less. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to out spiritual anybody.
Well, it isn't the knowing anyway. I mean, it isn't knowledge. Do you know what I mean? Like when I listen to Muji, I'm not listening to the words in a way.
Yep.
Do you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? It's not like, oh, what did he say? You know, and sometimes he's doing what he does when people come up to the mic and they have an experience and I'm sitting there crying.
Right,
This
right.
really touched me. So it's not about the intellect and the words and I think what you're doing, the level of the work you're doing, is beyond the intellect as well. It's
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really nice clue. And if I dare say so myself, I think there is definitely a transmission that comes through when I'm in that place. It's not me doing the work. There's something emerging between myself and my client
yeah.
in that space, which I am in 100% service of.
Yes.
Um,
So
and
like if you're in that service level, that I call that love.
I love it. Yeah.
That's
That's because you're so lovable, David.
that is you were there with your love and
Yes,
and
yes.
and, and expressing and listening and being part of and guiding, and it's all it's love is the deal. Love's the healer, and
Yes, yes. I was reminded of this beautiful expression yesterday, my friend. I'm not here to be your teacher. I'm here to love you, and
yeah,
love will be your teacher. And I'm just like, oh, it just like melted me. I'm like, that's where I am. That's where I
yeah.
want to be. That's what happens. It's so beautiful.
Well, it really is who you are.
Mm,
That
mm,
it's who we all are. We are that, and that's the place that I think that's the top of the mountain in a way. That's the
mm,
we are that consciousness. We are that God. There isn't any separation, and
mm,
and I've always seen that in you. You have that openness,
mm.
and vulnerability that makes your gift receivable.
Right, right. Thank you. Feels good to hear.
So I'm excited that you're going to take this path, and that and it may evolve. I'm just getting this hit right now from one-on-one to you might be in a place where you can help multiple people at the same time, to
Yeah. I'm letting it teach me for the moment, and there's definitely thoughts of of doing groups and speaking and all of that stuff, and that will come as it comes. Yeah, I'm in no rush to try and I'm in no rush, and I am also looking forward to that part and those things happening as well. It feels like my whole being is just has been preparing for doing this kind of thing.
yeah, lean into it. I think it's great. Wherever this video goes, I mean, it's so amazing that we don't, you have no idea who will see this and who will be attracted to, you know,
Yeah.
you see a time when you might invite people to come to Bali to do some.
Totally, Bali. Well, it's funny because originally I bought my house. I went through this phase of like, I'm not sure if I'm going to have kids, and I meditated, I reflected upon that because I feel like kids are a gift from you into the future. And I thought, well, what's my gift to the future if I don't have children? And this house the first house that I built is beautiful. I think you've been there. It's a beautiful, beautiful house. I felt was going to be a gift to people that I'd met from around the world who were doing good things to come to Bali and have the experience of like everything is taken care of. You don't have to cook, you don't have to clean, you get massages every day, and you just get to dream what your next dream is and then take that back to the real world and create it. But it's when your nervous system is just so settled and down-regulated that these inspired thoughts have a much clearer passage into your awareness. And so, yeah, I did that for many years. Just invited people to come and spend time in that house. And I will undoubtedly invite people to come to Bali on some other, I love the retreat setting as a place
Yes.
for transformation.
Tell me, is there lots of villas for rent right now? Lots of the prices gone down a bit, and
Yeah. I'm in a beautiful mansion at the moment. It normally rents for like 12 grand a month, and me and a couple of friends have got it for two. So yeah,
wow.
it's this stunning place. So yeah, the market is challenged. We're continuing to pay our staff their normal wage, and that I know that money just goes straight out into all of their communities. Uh, but in general, I think people are managing and surviving. There's definitely
My
been a
friend,
shift.
I was talking the other day to my friend Landoon, um, and Landoon's my driver for many years, and I've known him, his family, and he's up in oh, up on the hill. He's further up, and I just forget the name of the village, and he says that he's doing a lot of gardening.
Yeah.
He's gardening. He's growing food, and
Yeah.
that's it. It may be much later in this year before that Bali opens to tourism.
Yeah. I think yeah, it's going to be, who knows, but I think yeah, you're right. It's going to be a while, and
And
but
that's
when it does open up, yeah, it'll people will flood back here, and
I think you're right.
yeah, by all means, I'd be looking forward to. I've already got some ideas for some retreats and experiential immersions in mind, which it's just such a beautiful way to unplug from the real world and go and look for some of those resources and those gifts on the inside,
Yes.
which become more
And,
available.
and and Bali's really a great place for that. People come from the West, from Europe, or from North America, even more than Australia, because most folks are very familiar with Bali from Australia. But they come from Canada and it's their first trip. It's so another world, you know,
Yeah,
like, oh my God, and they can just drop into to
yeah.
the beauty and the love that's there.
And it still is, 8 years later, I still find magic around. I mean, I was in a castle yesterday, just this castle with like medieval armor and some and bookshelves with secret doors behind them and a dungeon and all the things. And it's just like it's just these pockets of just incredible creativity in Bali. And any time that I feel like, woe is me or my life is so hard or something, I will drive past and there'll be an old woman just doing the blessing with the flower and the incense and the water. And even now I can feel like the tears in my eyes. Is just, it puts me in my place in the world and humbles me and delights me at the same time. And yeah, there's such a deep magic around this place.
No kidding. Quick question, just a personal note. So over on, where cafe is on what's the name of the street?
Jalan
Uh,
Hanuman.
yes, yeah, Hanuman. Is the restaurant's open? Is cafe open?
Cafes open, yeah. Down Jalan Hanuman, most of the cafes are open.
Is
Up
clear?
Monkey Forest Road, you could go bowling. It's that quiet.
Is it?
Um,
Yes.
yeah.
And clear cafe, and is Soma make it? Soma's still there?
Soma is not open. Soma's been closed for a while. Sayuri's is closed. Sorry, not Sayuri's. Sari Organic is closed. But cafe's still thriving. Clear's still going. Zest is still going. I'm not sure if that was open when you were here.
No. Well, good. I'm glad that, and I've thought about my friends in Bali a lot this year, because their economy is so dependent on guests, and so there's probably a lot of Balinese people who are growing, who are evolving, who are finding new ways to be, and going deep into their spirituality, I'm sure. And
I mean, their community is very strong, very, very strong. And I think that's one thing that they have to offer us in the world is, yeah, just the strength of their community and their ritual and their belief structure. Yeah.
is there
That,
lots of Westerners still around though? Folks that that are living there?
there are, yeah, there's a nice community here for sure. Yep. And yeah, it's really lovely.
What a great place to lay up for this.
100%. I'm just so grateful to be here. It's just amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's especially and I think, contrast. If we jump up a level now, it's the contrast in life which I think lets us appreciate the good times. Because I've just come out of 9 months of grey Melbourne isolated lockdown, and so I'm on cloud nine at the moment because I get to see people, I get to eat in a cafe, I get to do all these things. I think for the people who've been here for the last year, it's just like, this is just normal. Gee, I'd love to go to Melbourne, or I'd love to go traveling.
Yes.
And so to some degree, these dreadful experiences that we have in our lives offer us contrast for such that even when life becomes very, very simple, we can be deeply grateful for it. And I think that's
Nice.
part of the
Nice.
teaching of, like, because you said, a lot of your learnings have been through challenge, or I would call it pain, and mine as well. And I think pain is an epic teacher. We pay attention when there is pain. In fact, sometimes we only change when there is pain. And yeah, so there is merit in that, even though it's an uncomfortable truth.
Yeah. Well, my friend, I'm so glad we had this time together. And I'll put this video up. Will you send me a little bio? I'd love to, put in, something, I don't know, under 3,000 characters.
I'll write you a little something.
I have room for up to 5,000 characters, and on YouTube, and it would be nice to get this up and to see, if folks, that watch this. I have quite a big audience around the world, and if you repost it, it'll get out there and help to drive some people to find you and your skills and your love.
Thanks, David. Yeah, and I'm just very amazed and impressed and so grateful that you've managed to pivot so gracefully from this perspective, and that you're continuing to do what you do. And so thanks so much for the opportunity. And I love you.
Thank you. Love you too. And I hope won't be this year, but I don't see it in 2021, but maybe 2022 I'll come visit you in Bali.
I'd love that. Yeah, that'd be great. Bali loves you as well. You know that.
It's my home. So thank you so much. Love you lots. Love to everyone that you see that I know. If that would be great. And tell them I miss Bali. And
will do.
See you soon. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, David. Ciao.
Ciao.